This is Calm AF, a podcast for humans who are hard on themselves. A podcast for the overthinkers, people pleasers, perfectionists, and overachievers. I'm Kristen Finch, and I'm going to teach you how to quiet that incessant negative chatter in your head. Because you know what a person with a calm mind can do? Anything they want. Grab your coffee, gorgeous soul, because today's the day you get Calm AF. Hello, gorgeous soul. Just a reminder before we start today's episode, the Future Self course is now available. So I was talking to my client yesterday. She already went through the course over the weekend, and she was like, Kristen, it is exceptional. So obviously I was like, well, tell me more. Tell me all the things. And basically what she liked the most was how I broke the steps down into their own modules, right? 2 episodes ago, I shared the 5 steps to becoming your future self. And in the course, I break each step down into its own module with lessons. And she said that it took this concept that she's always felt was like a little big and a little abstract, and now it feels very simple and digestible. I love how the course turned out. I was so excited. It's super thorough. I took out all of the fluff. I've been tweaking this process for years. And I just kind of like took out the fluff and uncomplicated it. And it is available now through June 15th only at the price of $179. So you want to get that right away. The link to buy it is in the show notes. Okay, so last week I shared in the podcast some real talk on what the actual transformation from current self to future self looks like, what going from the caterpillar to the butterfly is probably going to look and feel like. And I shared it real talk because a lot of times what happens when someone dives into transformation in their life, they think that if it feels hard, that means they're doing it wrong, or they must have made a mistake, or they should just go back to how things were. And that is just not true. I think it's so important that you know that the struggle, moving from where you are to where you want to be, is not only totally normal, but you need to count on it. You need to be like expecting it and plan for it. This is why I spend several modules in Calm AF Life teaching things like nervous system regulation, finding your emotional origin story, creating anchor thoughts. I don't teach it for shits and giggles. I teach it so that when you are transforming from the caterpillar to the butterfly, when you head into that cocoon, you've got a blankie, you've got some comfort snacks. It's to make the journey easier. In one of our Calm AF Life calls last week, one of the women shared, after we were talking about last week's podcast about how, this transformation is real. And she shared this really cool addition to the caterpillar to butterfly story. She shared that when butterflies are making their way out of the cocoon, that process, even that part of the process, isn't easy. They don't just like gracefully slide out of the cocoon once they change from the caterpillar to the butterfly. It's a struggle. Like they have to fight for it. And a lot of times when humans witness this struggle, they have the urge to help. So they try. They maybe try to loosen the cocoon to help the butterfly out, or maybe help them break it open. But when a human does that, when they interrupt the pain and the struggle of getting out of the cocoon, the butterfly will die. Okay, so it's just another example. When she told me this, I was like, yes, the struggle has to be part of the process. The fight to get out of the cocoon is how the butterfly gains the strength required to start using its wings. The struggle out of the cocoon is necessary and purposeful. Once the metamorphosis from your current self to your future self is completed, when you're in that embodying step, there is that transition period where you're building strength in your future self, learning how to dress, learning how to think, learning how to speak, learning how to move like your future self. And sometimes that part is a struggle too. So in the last episode, I had shared how I've been in this place in the last 6 months or so, learning how to step into the next version of myself, and why I have asked myself so many times, what were you thinking? You were comfy. You were cozy. It was easy. And now you are brand new again. You're learning how to be another iteration. I remember in a group call maybe a year or 2 ago, I had just taught my group the feelings room, which is going into your feelings on purpose. And someone unmuted on the call and she was like, so I'm just curious, like, why would I want to do this? If my whole life I've been avoiding the pain, and I am good at avoiding the pain, life is okay because I've been avoiding the pain. Why would I put myself through this when I could just keep doing things the way I've been doing them? And I want to share a little deeper about that today. I want to share kind of what I answered her and go a little further. Why this is worth it. Why you will put yourself through the pain and struggle of going from caterpillar to butterfly, of going from current self to future self. Why it's worth it. Why purposefully creating a life you want to live, a life that feels aligned with how you want it to feel, is worth the struggle. It's worth dissolving into liquid. It's worth the fight of getting out of the cocoon. I have been journaling about this a lot this year, especially because like I said, I'm smack dab in the middle of it. And I've come up with a bunch of reasons. Like, listen, I am actively convincing myself to keep going every day in this new version of myself. And so I've come up with a bunch of reasons why it's worth it. But today I'm going to share two of the biggest, the two that I keep coming back to the two that feel like the most impactful to me. So these are two of the biggest reasons. One, because you're struggling anyway. You might as well struggle and have the outcome that you want on the other side. And two, because the only way to live an actual full life, to be able to connect with real love and genuine joy, is if you're also willing to allow the pain. So let's go into details. Let's go into depth with both of these reasons. Let's start with the first one. The reason why it's worth it to go through the struggle is because you're struggling anyway. Don't kid yourself that staying stuck isn't a struggle. Maybe you feel alone in your relationship. Maybe you feel disconnected from your body. Maybe you feel uninspired in your career. Once you know where you're at isn't it, once you have that moment of like, hey, this can't be it. This just surviving, this always feeling stressed out, always feeling anxious, always worrying about the future and what everyone's thinking and all the guilt and all that. This can't be it, can it? Once you have that moment, you can't unhave it. And that knowing, that moment, that what you're up to right now isn't what you want, that knowing is painful. Sometimes it can feel soul crushing. At the very least, it can kind of feel soul diminishing, like you're caged, like you're small, like you're not able to spread your wings fully. It feels really, really, really hard to know the life you're living isn't the one you're going to look back at when your time on earth is done and think, yes, I did that. No regrets. So you're struggling anyway in your current self version. You're struggling anyway in the place that you are that you don't want to be. So why not choose the struggle that will set you free instead of choosing the one that's going to keep you stuck? Why not do the hard thing that will uncage you instead of continuing to do the thing that keeps you feeling caged? Yes, having a difficult conversation, setting a boundary, leaving a toxic relationship, trying something brand new that you've never done before, that is all going to feel hard. But staying stuck feels hard all day long, every day. Yes, doing new things, doing hard things is scary. But if you think you're avoiding pain by just staying where you're at, you're wrong. You're just spreading out the pain long term instead of allowing the temporary pain. If both your current self path and your future self path include discomfort at struggle, at least choose the one that takes you to your future self. All right, let's move on to the second reason why choosing your future path is worth it. And this is the ultimate why for me. Every time I am dragging my feet, every time I'm like, just stay here. Do you know what to expect here? This is the reason I tell myself that makes me finally say, ugh, fine, I'll keep going. Okay? Here it is. Because real love, the feeling, the experience of love and the experience of joy, those feelings are in the pain. This maybe sounds airy-fairy, but I can assure you that it's not. The most painful moments in my life, the times I have been brought to my knees from the pain, those have also produced the moments where I feel completely connected and sure about the meaning of life. I have connected with the feeling of true love and true joy, and I understood in my soul what matters and what doesn't because of the pain. They are a package deal. Pain and love, joy and struggle. You can't experience true love in your body without experiencing true pain. You cannot fully embody the feeling of joy if you don't allow yourself to fully embody the feeling of struggle. You can't experience the freedom of relief if you haven't experienced the pain of suffering. Now, do not get this backwards. You're not going to look forward to the pain. I have never, ever looked forward to going through something hard. I don't want it. I really don't want to choose it, but it happens. It's necessary. I don't get excited if I have to have a hard conversation. I don't enjoy one moment of disappointing someone. I don't enjoy how it feels to fail at something, but I am willing to do those things because that's what a fully lived life, the one where I get to the end and think, I did not let that life pass me by, that's the life we're meant to live. The pain, the struggle, the uncertainty, the risk is always worth it because of the love and the joy and the freedom. Maybe you have had glimpses in your life of what it feels like. Maybe you've experienced that indescribable beauty that accompanies the excruciating pain. If you have ever given birth, or if you have ever been with someone as they have taken their last breath, you have gotten that glimpse. You have gotten that understanding in your soul. And it's no coincidence that birth and death, two of the most painful things a human can experience, are also what teach us how true love feels and what true joy feels like. It's no coincidence that people who are dying, who know they are dying, are able to connect with and to see so clearly what really matters in this life, how the things that kept them from really living, grudges, fear of rejection, fear of what other people think, those things disappear. They simply stop mattering because the pain is worth the love. Maybe you've gotten a glimpse because you have been through something so painful that you literally couldn't avoid the pain. Like there was no choice. You had no choice in the matter. And you realized later, at some point, maybe soon after, maybe years later, that you wouldn't trade that pain for anything if it meant you couldn't have felt that love. Now, these are kind of extreme examples, but they remind us of how we want to live. But my mission on this planet, with this podcast, with everything that I teach, every program I create, my mission is to help people stop forgetting, to not have to go through the extreme examples to live that full life. The love and the joy are worth the pain. The freedom on the other side is worth choosing the pain over choosing the comfort zone. Your comfort zone isn't keeping you safe, it's keeping you stuck. You aren't putting off the pain. You aren't avoiding the pain. You're putting off your life. You're putting off love and joy. We just get one shot at this particular life. You have a choice to keep all those feelings at an arm's length, or you have the choice to live life fully with goosebumps. There is a poem by my favorite poet, Andrea Gibson, called Acceptance Speech After Setting the World Record in Goosebumps. I found Andrea on Instagram a few years ago. I want to say it was during the pandemic or during lockdown. And I just couldn't get enough of everything they shared. It felt like Andrea can put into words, really eloquent words, the feeling that I'm always trying to communicate when I talk about being alive while you're alive. So I bought one of their audiobooks called You Better Be Lightning, and this poem, the Goosebumps poem, was the very first poem in the book. And I am not exaggerating when I say I probably listened to it 30 times that day. This poem, listening to this poem, shows up in several of my alignment banks. It helps me align with the feeling of being alive, the feeling of appreciation, the feeling of connection, the feeling of joy. If you don't know what the alignment banks are, check out episode 244 or get that Future Self course where I teach you about them and how to create your own alignment banks. So I want to end this episode by sharing a clip of Andrea performing the Goosebumps poem. This feels like something I've always held very, very dear. It feels sacred to me, but I just can't not share this with you so that you get to experience the feeling as well. It basically sums up everything that I've talked about in this episode. And, ironically, just last week or maybe 2 weeks ago or so, Andrea shared on Instagram that their ovarian cancer that had been in remission has reoccurred. And sadly, the doctors are saying there was nothing left to do. Of course, there's still miracles, but that's the newest news. And obviously, it goes without saying that there is excruciating pain that is tied to this news for Andrea and everyone who loves them, which means if there's excruciating pain, there will also be excruciating love and joy that is also tied to this news. It's both or it's neither. I'm going to leave you with this poem and a nudge. Stop avoiding the discomfort of change. Stop putting off the hard things for later. This life isn't stopping while you get ready to do the hard things. Do the thing you know you need to do. Stop teetering in the fear. Stop looking over the edge of the cliff. Will it be scary when you jump? Yes. Are there risks? Of course. Is it worth it? 1,000% yes. To experience real love, to experience what real joy, that overwhelming spilling out of you joy in your body, to feel alive while you're alive instead of going through the motions, it's beyond worth it. And if you want me to help you through it, the hard things, check out all of the ways I can help you in the show notes. The Future Self course is available for one more day. Call Me If Life, there's more. I got you. This isn't my first jump. All right. I'm going to leave you with this poem. I love you so much. Enjoy.
Acceptance speech after setting the world record in Goosebumps. I wasn't by any means a natural. Was not one of those wow hounds born jaw-dropped. I was tough in the husk, went years untouched by rain, took shelter seriously, even and often especially in good weather. My tears like teenagers hiding under the hoods of my eyes, so committed they were to never falling for the joke of astonishment. When I was told there were 7 wonders of the world, I trusted the math, believed I had seen none of them. Of course, beauty hunted me. It hunts everyone, but I outran it, hid in worry, regret, the promise of an afterlife or a week's end. Then one day, in a red velvet theater in New Orleans, I watched Maya Angelou walk on stage. 17 slow steps to the mic. She took a breath before speaking. I could hear God being born in that breath. My every pore reached out like a hand, pointing to the first unsinkable lotus in the bayou of the universe. I'd never felt anything like it. Searched the encyclopedia for the feeling's name. When I got home, Goosebumps. Afterward, I thought, I can do this. Started training morning to night, crowbar swinging like a pendulum at the wall of my chest, tore the caution tape off my life and let everything touch it. Allen Iverson on the television in his first season with the Sixers, crossover sharp as a V of sparrows, flying through the paint like Michelangelo's brush, 333 goosebumps. My baby sister, sober for the first time in 13 years, calling to tell me she just noticed our mother's eyes are green, 505 goosebumps. One day, my friend scored tickets to a Prince concert. Tiny venue. I was right behind the sound booth. Prince's entire band that evening, women. At the end of the show, the sound person turned around and whispered, he didn't play one song on his set list the whole night. I live on stages. I know what it is to scratch a plan, but not the whole trip, and still arrive to your destination 200 years before your time. 421 artists formerly known as Goosebumps. But that's just the fancy stuff. Some of them came from simple facts. It rains diamonds on Jupiter, 189 goosebumps. Blood donors in Sweden receive a thank you message when their blood is used. 301 Nordic goosebumps. One night in Michigan, my friend, still undiagnosed, could not uncurl her fingers to strum her guitar, so she sang the chords instead. It was the first time in my life I'd seen pain become an instrument. 10 dozen goosebumps for each and every note plucked from the string section of her refusal to silence her dream. After that, nothing in the world was gray. Even the movie of my past was released in color. The oldest man in my hometown could not get to the door to listen to our carols, so we went inside and sang at his bedside instead. 24 boots on the front step catching snowflakes with their tongues, 776 goosebumps. At one point, everything started doing it. A sincere apology, 221 goosebumps. An enemy's love poem, 222 goosebumps. The moon rising over the continental divide. My girl and I thought it was a car driving off a cliff, and suddenly nothing in the world was dying. You ever felt that? A split second when nothing in the world is dying? 888 goosebumps, and the next day I sharpened a tiny axe so I could split the seconds myself. Too much lives in a moment to not feed it to the fire, and the heart slow, a Missoula treehouse filled with candlelight. 143 goosebumps, the octopus documentary. 54 goosebumps multiplied by 8, the biggest dog in the shelter, hiding behind a teacup chihuahua, and the woman who came to adopt a cat, taking all 3 of them home. 1,012 goosebumps. There is no escaping the magic now. Beauty caught me and never let me go. And the thing about the world record is, if someone breaks it after me, and they will break it after me, I will love that so much that without even trying, I'll break it again.